Hi, today we are discussing about global issue which is child abuse or violence. And for this discussion, we have a very renowned guest. She's basically mother-child social worker in Sheil of Athena, and her name is Cynthia Masi. Hello, Cynthia. How are you doing? And thank you so much for your precious time. How will you explain children exposed to violence in Canadian society?
Children exposed to violence is a topic that's very dear to my heart. I've been working here since 2005, and I've been working with mothers and children since 2011 specifically. Our mandate here at the organization is working with mothers and children from all different communities, as we use interpreters and different cultural intermediaries to help us do our interventions. And for me, what I've seen is that, violence has very similar structures all throughout Canada and the different people who live here. And when it looks at children who are witnesses to violence, what we see is that exposure to violence is a stepping stone to a lot of what their lives look like in different spheres. Children who are in homes where there is violence, it's important to remember our home is our first place where we learn about what relationships look like, what problem-solving skills look like. And so children are learning how to live in the world.
Okay, Cynthia, can you tell me please how many types of child abuses or you can say violence?
Children who are in homes where there is conjugal violence are a lot more likely to experience violence directly themselves. There's obviously physical violence, which is the one we hear about and we recognize the most. There's psychological violence. There's manipulation. It can be spiritual. There are many different forms that it can take on, and children experience them all differently. And there could be different levels of exposure as well. But what we've seen actually is that the longer children are exposed to these types of violence, the more likely they are to have long-term consequences related to them.
All right, Cynthia, how it can be exposed intimate partner violence or sexual abuse regarding children?
Well, what we see is that a lot of times children who come to do work with me, their moms will say that, the children were not exposed to violence. They did not know that there was violence in the home. But what we see is that they know a lot more than, the adults in their life know. They will tell me that they have a lot of nightmares, that they struggle with anxiety. They worry about what it can look like while they're at school. What's happening at home? Is my mother safe? Is there a situation of danger, which impacts how they function and concentrate at school? It impacts different relationships that they have with other adults, with other children, and it also impacts how they learn to manage their emotions and their ability to build relationships and friendships with others outside of the home.
All right, what are the impacts of violence on children?
The most important thing that I tell moms is to leave when a child is exposed to violence. The most important thing is to leave the abusive situation, because it explains to children that that behavior is not acceptable. And all the research is showing that the most important person in a child's life is a non-abusive parent. If both parents are healthy, then the ideal obviously is to have a family united. We are an organization that really believes in family. But when one of the parents is really unhealthy and causing more hurt to the child, having a person who is safe, an environment that is safe, is really important. One of the other things that we find is really important is having a community around them. And that's why we really go into communities and speak to both people who are in abusive situations, but also people who aren't. Because what we've realized is that somebody who provides support and understanding towards this family really shows the power in being able to leave abusive situations.
Cynthia, as you know, people are hiding basically. People are hiding these sexual abuse cases just because their close relatives are involved, and on other words, they are threatening not to tell anyone. So that in that cases, how you suggest people to protect their kids?
That is such important question. It's something that we do see. This is, across all cultures, the idea that, family problems stay within the family, that, we cannot talk about or share, especially when it comes to sexual violence. This is a topic that I've come across when working with youth as well. And it can be seen as taboo, embarrassing, but what we do with our work is explain that this is not their fault, because a lot of children especially blame themselves for all the violence and they experience, and that they have nothing to be ashamed of. I think as a family, to unite around that person is really important. And getting them support from a community organization like ours, or through different channels is really an important thing to do. And one of the other things that I always say is, once a child says that they have experienced sexual violence, if they are not believed, the chances that they will report it to somebody else are very low. And the reality is, we see that long term, this has a very serious impact on them.
Okay, how can you educate our children about bad touch or beware of strangers?
Yeah. I love that. Being a community organization, something we do is really do go out into the community. We talk to children in schools or in different formats to really bring the message in a way that is age appropriate and safe. I have 2 children, and it's very important to me that they understand what that can mean, what that can look like, and that they know who they can reach out to in the event that they do feel that way, that something has happened that made them feel uncomfortable. Explaining that there are parts of the body that are private, and that they have the right to say no, that people who can hurt them can also be people that they know. I think we spend a lot of time talking about strangers being dangerous, but not enough time saying that sometimes it can be somebody that you know. And in fact, statistically, it is a lot more likely that it's somebody that they know than a stranger.
Okay, Cynthia, what is the responsibility of community to counter violence on children?
You know, I absolutely love when communities get involved, because that is the stepping stone. Before they get to work with me, for example, they go through the community, and people who are aware, who know that these things exist and that are open to at least having this conversation, are the real heroes, because they are the front line telling the children that you have the ability to say that this is not okay, that if you need support, people are there, and not to minimize or further push the child back into that level of fear. I think, honestly, if it's community teachers, if it's friends, if it's leaders within the community, sports coaches, I think that's where it starts. They're the first line of defense in protecting these children.
All right, describe the role of Shield of Athena in a protection of violence on children.
Absolutely. I feel so privileged to be able to work in a community organization that really gets out there and works with families and children. One of our first things is prevention and getting out into schools or different community centers, speaking to the adults who are around these children who can help give them a voice, is one of the most important things that we do, because if they're not aware that these are problematics that exist and that are real and have consequences, then these children are not brought to the second step, which is to actually meet with workers and get support. I feel very lucky that I get to work with children directly. And so, my role is really about normalizing nonviolence, giving kids coping strategies for how to manage their emotions, and also bringing them into our shelter where they can receive safety and support with their moms for a period of 2 months. And also, what's really important is when we work with moms, to give moms the strategies to help their kids as well. Because, what we know is that, yeah, maybe I can help them for a short period of time at our offices. But what we want is that this support continues afterwards through the mom, through the community.
Cynthia, how people can contact Shield of Athena, and is it possible for children to contact directly?
Unfortunately, children cannot contact us directly, although if ever there's an emergency situation, and somebody did contact us, we would not hang up the phone. We would support them the best way possible. But our role is really working with moms and children as a team. And what we do is actually we work with families after there is a separation from the abusive partner. And our role is to really help them integrate into the communities, to offer them a support or a safety plan in the events that those things are needed, and really support them through the very complicated system, either legally or whatever their needs might be. So we are reachable through SOS. The phone number is 514-873-9010. They are a hotline which will refer women to different organizations, and we use that phone number to maintain the safety of the clients. So in the sense that if a partner So if a woman calls SOS and asks for the Shield of Athena, they can not be traced back to the phone number of our organization in particular. So it's a tool we use to help keep the client safe.
All right, Cynthia, one last question. How can you suggest parents to protect their children from sexual abuse?
Having a line of communication with the child is really important. One of the things that I talk about with parents and moms a lot is being present, but being present. So, sometimes, moms are sitting with their children a lot of the day. Maybe they're watching TV or she's on the phone, or, there's a distraction element. For me, one of the things I work on a lot is having time where we are really present, where we are looking at each other, having that conversation about what the day was like for the child, learning about what their favorite things are, things that went well during the day, things that didn't. I think it really is at the base, one of the most important tools that I offer to moms is showing them how to have real communication with their child.
Once again, thank you so much, Cynthia, for your precious time. Have a good day. Keep watching Voice of Canada for further updates. Visit our website, voiceofcanada.tv.